sure time management is a problem that everybody faces. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges for me too. I got 770 in 3 of the official mocks
Mocks.
consecutively.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm good.
Right.
And so that's when I relied more on the tests on the top portal. So I completely stopped giving the official mocks. I thought maybe they're too easy. And so I missed 2 weeks of prep, 1.5 to 2 weeks. And I was giving mocks right before those 2 weeks, and I gave a mock right after the 2 weeks. And there was a drastic drop in the second mock. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, Nimisha. Thank you so much for joining in. How are you doing?
All good, all good. Thank you.
First of all, massive congratulations. I didn't know, I don't think we've gotten a chance to interact before. And you shared this particular email with the entire team, and we were so excited, as excited you were as you were when you got the score of a 760. And this snapshot was from what you shared with Priyansha, that you scored a 760 with a quant 49 and a verbal 44, right? A massive congratulations, 98 percentile on verbal. A huge congratulations again. So just let us know about yourself. Just give us a little background about yourself and how did it all span out in terms of this entire journey, the journey towards MBA.
Sure. So, I mean, I'm obviously from India, but I've been living abroad for like 8 years now. So I did my undergrad education in Hong Kong. I did computer science. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to code. And then I moved to more like the business side.
Right.
And I worked in a bank for 3 years in Hong Kong. And then just over a year ago, I moved to Singapore for a tech company.
Okay.
I guess I started thinking about MBA because my friends started thinking about MBA and they were like, have either started going or started applying.
Right.
And for the longest time, I wasn't sure about the ROI. I was doing the typical ROI calculation that everybody does.
Right.
But maybe it does not make sense if I just look at short-term ROI.
Yeah.
But then slowly I started thinking more longer term. And then I was like, oh, I think long-term MBA does make sense, at least from the top universities. So that was how I convinced myself to, yes, I do want to apply for an MBA.
Right.
And then when I was thinking of GMAT, then, I mean, it was actually quite easy to come across top. A lot of my friends recommended it. And so I didn't really look at too many places either. I was like, okay, I've got enough recommendations for this one. So I signed up for the August batch.
So when you initially started, did you have a certain score or a certain school in mind to kind of get into, or did you just, how was your thought? Like a lot of students come to us, let me just get done with my GMAT. Or then, there are specific students who are like, I want to get into these schools only and tell me what is the, journey or a roadmap towards. So how was it for you when you look back right now?
So some people will call me crazy, but I'm actually only applying to Harvard and Stanford. And that was the aim even when I started out with the journey. So that was quite clear that these are the only 2 schools I want to go to. Otherwise, I'm probably not doing an MBA and I'll figure out some other.
But that's what Sandeep sir would always want. If you don't think this way, then you are called crazy. So not with
Yeah. Tell that to my family.
Right.
But yeah, so I knew I had to score high. And I obviously know that Indians are generally smart. We're a competitive bunch, so we pull the averages up.
Right.
Way. So I think I knew that I wanted a high score. I didn't know what even high meant. But then obviously I joined top classes and Sandeep sir made us aim for 770. So I was like, okay, then I aim for 770.
Right. Now that you have this score in hand, that the most desired score, now I think it's time for the application. Now, looking back again, delving deep into your preparation, it's been some time, I understand, but if you recall, how was your entire experience studying with Top and Percent, be it the material, be it Sandeep sir's strategy? Could you just throw some light on that?
Sure, yeah, it has been a while. This was like August and September. But yeah, I mean, overall, I was very happy with the material. I thought it was very comprehensive. And obviously, it was very clear that Sandeep sir cared in the ways he conducted his classes, the speed with which I got doubts cleared from the top team. So I'm very grateful to Sandeep sir as well as the top team. Yeah, so I mean, the material was comprehensive. I did not look at any other resource, website, nothing. I relied completely on Top's guidance and Top's materials. I did think it was, I mean, for me, it was definitely hectic. because, and I'm sure for a lot of other people as well, because trying to manage a full-time job as well as, studying. So I was also experimenting. So I first started studying like the 3 hours per day that you're supposed to give. I was giving it after my job. And
Right.
then I realized I'm so sleepy by the end of the job that like
I know.
not very quality studying. Then I started to do before, but I was like, oh my God, I can't wake up 3 hours before what I was already waking up. So I
Right.
eventually landed up with like 1 hour in the morning, 2 hours in the
Sure.
evening to somehow make it through.
3 years.
Um, yeah, so I was definitely experimenting, and I'm sure time management is a problem that everybody faces. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges for me too. For me, also, I travel with work.
Oh,
So trying to balance studying, traveling, as well as work was quite crazy sometimes.
yes. No, because this is one thing that most of the students have difficulty in, and we always say that you need to find a balance. We say the best recommended is you start in early, but ideally you should be able to prepare for GMAT when your attention is at the peak.
Yeah.
If you prepare after you're completely drained out, or if you're in a place at a time when you cannot give your 100% attention, then putting in even 6 to 7 hours of work of time into it would just mean nothing, right? So
I mean, I agree theoretically, but practically, honestly, I think it's very difficult to follow that.
difficult.
I was still lucky. My job starts around 10 a.m. It's tech, so it's a little more chill. But there are friends who start work at like 8 a.m. So asking them to wake up at 4 a.m. to study for 3 hours, like I don't know if that's practical. But yeah, I guess everybody has to find what works for them.
Right. So I'm looking at your score right now. So when you started, or even now, if you look at, was there any particular section that was more challenging than the others, or did you have like a strong beat in any of the sections, and you had to work particularly very hard on certain sections? If you can throw some light on that as well.
Before my first attempt, I think I struggled the most with SC in verbal and
Yeah,
with geometry in Quant.
right.
So then I like really if you see my error log and my like practice tracker, it's like 70% SC or something. So I
Right.
was just like, trying to do SC questions every day. RC, CR were pretty strong for me. So I would just do enough to maintain my level. And I would just focus on SC. And for quant, I have an engineering background. So, I was like confident, perhaps a little overconfident on quant. And quant, my issue was timing. So I was okay with the accuracy, just practicing to fix my quant timing.
Right. So, in throughout your preparation, if you particularly recall any particular strategy that helped you optimize, be it your preparation or your schedule or any materials, or even maybe these small sessions that Sandeep sir does, these motivation sessions or anything. If I don't know if you did get a chance to attend any of it, did any of these things play pivotal during your preparation, if you recall?
Sure. So I think materials 100%.
Yeah,
Like I said, I didn't rely on anything else. I got 770 in 3 of the official mocks
marks.
consecutively.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm good.
Right.
And then I gave it, and then I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So that's when I relied more on the tests on the top portal. So
Top,
I completely stopped giving the official mocks. I thought maybe they're too easy. And then so I just doubled down on the sectional tests as well as the full mock tests on
oh,
the portal.
perfect.
So I think that helped. And like some of the strategies recommended by Sir were like, having an error log. I, to be honest, did not do that while the classes were going on. But then I started as soon as the classes were over, and then, we had to do self-practice. And I
Yes.
think that definitely helped to even like understand where am I going wrong. And then that's how I concluded that, SC was a weak area and geometry was a weak area. Yeah, so it's definitely very helpful.
So, directly on the test day, were there any kind of surprises in terms of the questions that it played googly, let's say, right? So, were you boggled down by, okay, I don't even know these questions, or were they pretty straightforward? You were able to solve it within the time. So, given the time also as a constraint, any situation or nervousness or anything like that happened on the test day?
I practice honestly so much. I've been practicing for more than 4 months. So I was like, at this point. Yeah, so no, I wasn't surprised by any of the questions. I thought the exam experience was quite smooth.
Right. Oh, perfect, perfect. So there was no surprises at all in the exam, right? So it was
Academic,
in
no. I
terms of
think
time, how did you manage in terms of the time during the exam?
I finished bang on time, maybe with like 30 seconds left in each section. So timing, I don't think generally is my strength. So I was just able to finish just in time. I definitely don't have extra left. But yeah.
So, Nimisha, here's a particular question that I generally ask everybody who got the score, because the scores gets you there, right? The set formula and the content and the strategy, even the study plan for that matter. But it's what you do specifically, beat habit. You mentioned about how you managed in the initial times itself, but anything specific that you did, an adjustment or any practices that you, not necessarily, let's say, for GMAT, but like some students say that, I used to practice yoga, or maybe they would practice extra questions before the exam, that made a difference to stay through with your preparation for 4 months. So y- as you know, maybe your friends would have said or not, right? A lot of students do take maybe even a year to complete for whatever reasons. There are some other things that what's kept you motivated, if that's a question, right?
Oh. I think time pressure, to be honest. It wasn't anything crazy like meditation, yoga, although I think I sometimes practice meditation.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I knew I was already too late for R1 deadline, and I knew I really wanted to apply by R2, and that's very soon. Uh, so I just knew I had to get a score by a certain date. So I think, to be honest, that was the biggest motivator. Like, okay, just get it done.
Perfect, perfect. I mean, it's very nice to know that you're self-motivated and you have a strict deadline, and you're looking at achieving these milestones. Okay, let me get done with GMAT, and now if like R1 is done, it's okay. Let me now look at R2. That's one of the things that one should aspire as a student, and you just, let's say, defined every aspect. You've fulfilled all of that aspect, and it's very good to know. Now, in terms of the support and guidance, you did touch base on the support that the faculty and Sandeep sir gave. But anything that you would like to highlight on a specific time in terms of the questions, that doubts that you had, or the strategy that you were able to take it? Because again, time difference was also there, because you were studying out not from India at that time. So in terms of the doubts, support, how did it all unfold to you?
Yeah, just shout out to the top team that, was responding to my doubts. Like, I think I don't know how many emails I sent. There were a lot. There were at least like 5 a day.
So, one last thing that you would say, if at all, if you look back in your entire preparation, one thing that you must do in your preparation and one thing that you must completely avoid through your preparation, what would you say?
I'll cover the do because I think that covers the avoid also, which is consistency. And I know Sandeep sir was also harping on this throughout the course, and I think it's very true.
Right.
So there was a particular week where I was traveling for work, and I just wasn't able to study. And the next week there was a wedding, a friend's wedding that I had to attend. So I missed 2 weeks of prep, 1.5 to 2 weeks. And I was giving mocks right before those 2 weeks, and I gave a mock right after the 2 weeks, and there was a drastic drop in the second mock. So I was like, oh my God. And then, I had to like spend another 15, 20 days just catching up, and then, working towards a higher score. So I definitely agree with the mantra of consistency. Like, just put in, even if, some days are tough and you have to put in just an hour, just put in that hour at least. Just keeps things fresh.
Yeah, I think that's generally again, we used to tell that, and now that you've shown it by example as well, then you miss a day's time, the next day you'll have to account for the day that you missed. You can't go by 3 hours. You'll have to put 6 hours again, so that would simply catch up. And that's what you've mentioned as well. Great, Nimisha. Thank you so much. In terms of your application, have you started your application already? You've submitted them. Now you're waiting on
I
the
am. I have to be honest, I'm a bit last minute on my apps. So I started Monday this week, and they're due
right.
3rd Jan. So I'm definitely racing against the clock.
Super, super. You're applying on your own? Are you looking at any help or?
I have a counselor, yeah.
Oh, perfect, perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Nimisha, for taking out the time today and joining me. And hopefully, the admit comes through very soon. And I would rather hear it from either you can directly let us know, or probably let us know through Priyansha as well. We'll stay connected. We'll see that Howard on your LinkedIn very, very soon, and a
I hope so.
chapter unfold. Please know that this is a big congratulatory message from Sandeep sir, although he could not personally talk to you here because he's taking classes. But on behalf of him and the entire team, we wish you all the very best. Thank you so much, Nimisha. You have
Thank
a
you.
very good, the next chapter of your life unfold very, very seamlessly. Thank you again. Thank you.